What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Bob Arum, Terrence Bud Crawford, and Errol the True Spence. Get this. Bob Arum says that pay-per-view piracy is a big hurdle in making fights like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. The top-ranked promoter leverages his experience to explain why it's taking so long to finalize Crawford versus Spence. Top-ranked promoter Bob Arum might not be directly involved in the negotiations to stage an undisputed welterweight title unification between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, but there may not be anyone with more experience in putting on big fights like this. So, from the outside looking in, Arum shares his perspective on why Spence versus Crawford fight has been taking so long to finalize. Okay, and he said, in a big fight, it has tremendous interest from people who follow boxing, Arum said. But that doesn't necessarily translate into the revenue from pay-per-view, which is the biggest source because of the piracy. And the fighters realize how big a fight is, and they want to get paid big amounts of money. And promoter, in this case PBC, has to look at it and say, hey, we'll put it on, we'll give you nice guarantees, but you got to really live from the upside, okay? Which the fighters realize now will not develop, will probably not develop. So again, unless somebody wants to subsidize that fight, I don't see how it gets done. Okay, well, let me counterpunch. We all know with Bob Arum, in the last 20 years, let's just keep it real, okay, 25 years. The biggest fights that he had were not they were really joint, okay? Like he needed Don King when he had De La Hoya and Don King had Trinidad. Okay. Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. He wasn't one of those guys that was the savior of how that fight got made. It was always made some fucking where else. Even Terrence Crawford, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, okay, that was still another joint effort. So the question is, it's like, look, he's talking about all these piracies, but you don't hear him say anything about that when those damn fights between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury was taking place. Nobody cared. We're all familiar, and if you don't know, let me tell you so. When Deontay Wilder took on Tyson Fury for the first fight, they said there were over 9 million illegal pay-per-view scams or shams, okay? Somebody watched that many, and I'm thinking, like, how the hell can you guys monitor something that was stole from you and not do a damn thing about it? That was the first thing that popped in my mind, like, you guys know how many people watch this shit from Fire Stick or some kind of illegal stream, but yet you couldn't stop it. You know what I mean? So maybe that's just one of those things, but the fight still went on, and not only did it go on, it went on, and then it went on again. Okay, those guys fought 3 times, and then they still made a shitload of money. Okay, so I don't think that it's anybody's fault, so to speak. I think they need to come up with the money. I think PBC, I think they bullshit their fighters. I honestly do. You don't have people like Fred from Barbershop Conversations coming at them with now newfound shit every day. And he has connections to the PBC and Fox, by the way, bars. And that shit not be true. Okay? So I don't think they have money like that. If you look at people that wanted at least 5 million, 5 million seems like a shitload of money compared to yesteryear. And what I mean by that, like, you look at De La Hoya, he made like 20 million or some shit like that. Trinidad made like 7 million. That's still shitloads more than what they made now. They're not making anything near that. So the PBC Fox is failing. People might not want to admit it. People that worship these networks, why the hell would you do that? They don't want to admit it, but that's the truth. So what Bob's saying is, if you don't have anybody to put money up for this fight, this shit ain't going to happen. In other words, PBC, on how they run things, they're not going to really want to base things off of pay-per-view. And then if they do, they want to leave it. They want to leave their guarantee up to the pay-per-view. So you have to make a certain amount of money in order for their guarantee to be fulfilled. So if it doesn't make that, they don't want to get with that. Okay, so that's a lot of times. That's why you got fighters like Errol Spence and Sean Porter. They made $2 million apiece, $2 million guarantee. So that tells you that the welterweight division and other parts and other divisions have took a nosedive, a nosedive, right, in popularity in finance and in the way they compensate their fighters. Shit, they bleed, they take punishment as well as the people in yesteryear, but they made more money. Floyd made $20 fucking million for fighting Oscar De La Hoya. 20. Ask you, was that fucking key? Was that Andre Berto when he fought Floyd? No. He might have made $3-4 million. Was that Keith Thurman when he fought Pacquiao? No. I don't know. I can't remember how much he made. I think he made maybe 5, 6, maybe. I'm not sure. But if you can see by comparison on how these fighters are getting just gypped now because they want to throw that, hey, pay-per-view shit. But I do understand what Bob's saying. Piracy is a big issue because the times have changed. See, back in the 90s, middle 90s, if I wanted to see Roy Jones Jr. fight and his ass was on pay-per-view, it's either I wait for the next weekend to watch it on HBO, but if I wanted to watch it then, okay, I'm going to have to put that money in, okay, and hit that button, buy. Or matter of fact, I think we used to call back then to make those purchases. Unless you had your satellite feed or whatever. But I used to actually call and then boom, it pops on. You know what I mean? That was the only way. We didn't have all this technology and digital bullshit we have now where people can just say, you know what? I'm going to watch that shit from my Fire Stick. So yeah, it is a big thing. But that still shouldn't affect the fighter though. They should still want to take care of the fighters and not gyp them when they already know that piracy exists in pay-per-view. They already know that it will be gaffled to a certain degree from people that don't want to pay for shit, right? So yeah, he knows that. So it should be their duty. Like, look, we need to pay these fighters. They still risk their lives in the ring. We need to pay them this thing. Bars. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Bob Arum stating the only way this fight happens between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!